Hello friends, Tanya here for Trinity Stamps, and today is the premiere of the Autumn Impressions release. You're going to find so many exciting projects here. I am going to do a glow-in-the-dark full shaker card with the Shake Your Bones stamps. Now, I have since gotten the dies, so there are coordinating dies. I did fussy cut these. I'm taking some Ink on 3 Juicy Ink, which is their embossing ink. And we're going to stamp these skeletons on some vellum. And I'm going to first heat emboss them with white embossing powder. I'm going to stamp them a couple of times to get a nice solid image. Oh, nope. I guess I'm going to first stamp them with the glow-in-the-dark embossing powder. I actually have two different brands of glow-in-the-dark embossing powder in my stash. I think I got both of them in kits, and I'm telling you, they're pretty much exactly the same. So it doesn't matter what brand you get, they all work the same. And I did do a couple of different experiments with this to get the best results. First, I did multiple layers of embossing with the glow-in-the-dark embossing powder. This one you can see I took the vellum and I used my black Copic marker to color on it, and I'm trying to show you the glow-in-the-dark. Just wait, at the end of the video I will show you what it looks like for the glow-in-the-dark portion. Next, I took the same stamps, stamped them with the VersaFine Onyx Black ink, and then embossed over the top with the glow-in-the-dark embossing powder. And then I think I ultimately also put another coat of clear embossing powder over the top of the glow-in-the-dark embossing. Next, I'm going to take the October Sky stencil. I think that's what it's called. It'll definitely be linked in the description box below. It is not a layering stencil, but it has a lot of components. It's got this circle for a moon or a sun. And then it has the mask for the same circle. And I inked that with a little bit of hickory smoke ink. And now I'm coming back with some pumice stone to do some inking around the moon. I also have some black soot ink, and this is all Distress Oxides. And I'm going to create a spooky moonlit sky for my skeletons to dance on. I also have some Twisted Citron that I'm going to mix in there to give it that eerie glow. And we're going to go back over it with some pumice stone and with the black soot and just make a good spooky background. I'm going to remove the mask and take the negative mask and put that over top and tape that down well. And you can see I have some pieces of, this is just copier paper that I cut into quarters and keep on my desk or in a spot on my desk to use for masking off areas of stencils that I don't want to ink. I'm making some very moody, what are those called? Clouds. Oh, wow. I'm making some very moody clouds here with some pumice stone and black soot. I actually saw the sky look this way one night on a drive back from my son's house. It was really, really pretty cool. It was actually probably due to the smoke from the Canadian fires, but it was cool. Take your moments when you can. So I came back and added some antique linen to that moon to brighten that up a little bit. And now I'm spattering this background with water. And then I'm going to take my pearlized water and spritz that. It gives it a bit of an all-over shimmer. And then I'm using some liquid pixie dust. If you've been watching me for very long, you know that I put it in this palette, and then when it dries out, I can just reconstitute it with some water, and then I never waste any of my liquid pixie dust. I'm spattering that all over this background to add some shimmer and shine. Not done with the spatters. Here we come with some more. I smushed some black soot Distress Oxides on this piece of acrylic, and I added some water, and then I'm going to take some of the Goddess Green re-inker that I have in this same palette, reconstituted that with some water and spattered that on the background. Lots of spattering going on. Spattering is one of those really easy and effective ways to add to a background. This is going to be an A7 card, and so I took the A7 Modern Embossed stack and I die cut the panel from, I think it's the, I'm pretty sure this is the 4.5 by 6.5 inch panel. And next I take some lightweight acetate from some stamp packaging that I trimmed down to roughly 6 by 9. And I'm using some double-sided tape to adhere each side as I fold it over. And I do try to trim off the extra bulk at the corners so it will lie more flatly. Is that a word? When I adhere this to the card base. I did even trim some of that extra plastic from the underside of the fold. It's really simple and fast to make these full panel shaker cards, and I don't know why I didn't do this before. I don't think it's a totally new idea, but Amy Rysavvy has been doing them lately, and I am totally sucked in. Totally making lots of these. Yes, I'm a child of the 80s. I am just testing out shaking these little skeleton fellas in there. I initially thought I was going to put all 4 of them in there and decided that was too many. And in retrospect, 1 was probably enough because they get their legs tangled together and then they get stuck. And then they shake a little better, and I don't know, it's kind of fun. Even if it is 2 of them getting all tangled up. I added some purple and green sequins from my stash. There are some beautiful gems that I didn't have when I created this that I have now. It's the emerald gems, emerald something. I can't remember the second part of the name, but they're in the Trinity shop and they would be fantastic in this. And they have glow in the dark pieces, moons and stars, I believe it is, and there are skulls, black and white skulls in the embellishments. So you got to check those out. I will have those linked in the description box below too, because they would have been perfect for this shaker card. I always find more things that would have been perfect after I finish a card like this. Is that the same in your house? Now I did add more of the double-sided tape on the back of this, but you don't really have to. I have since made more shaker cards like this, and the liquid glue works perfectly well. This is another piece of cardstock that I cut with the same exact die as I did the background panel that I die cut earlier. And I'm just adding this to the back of the card for some extra stability. I probably wouldn't have needed to do this, but it was my very first full panel shaker card. So live and learn, right? Here I'm just testing out the shaking, making sure it's full enough. And now I'm going to add a layer of some shimmery silver or gray cardstock that I have in my stash. And I cut that with the 4 3/4 by 6 3/4 inch panel from the A7 Modern Embossed stack. Just going to adhere that down. And then I pulled out some, oh, I'm not even sure what color that is. It's a very light, warm gray from my stash. You could use whatever you've got, but I like that it isn't white. White would not have looked right with this card. I did try it. And I'm just going to adhere that flat. And with all of the layers and the shaker, I didn't feel the need to add any extra dimension behind this. Now I'm going to take a couple more of the skeletons because I had stamped all of them and fussy cut all of them. Again, there are coordinating dies, and if I'd had them, I totally would have used them because why wouldn't you? I have them now. And I adhered them to the front of the card, and just some simple glue, liquid glue, works great on this acetate. I also took some of the sentiments from the stamp set and I embossed them with white embossing powder on black cardstock and then carefully trimmed them out with my scissor. And then I took this longer sentiment that's going to go on the inside of the card, and I'm going to stamp it with VersaFine Onyx Black ink on some white cardstock scraps. Just carefully making sure that I stamp this more than once without pushing really hard. That way I get a nice image without having any smushing to the sentiment, because you want it to stay nice and crisp. I did take one of the mini slimline stitched stack dies to die cut the sentiment. I really like that die set, not just for making slimline panels, but for cutting out different sentiments, because there's a variety of sizes. And if you use partial die cutting, you can make them whatever length you would like. So I'll take that sentiment and I'll adhere that to the inside, and I'm also adhering a couple of those glow-in-the-dark skeletons that I stamped on vellum. That is the completed card. I hope you love it as much as I do. And here is a peek at the glow-in-the-dark effect on this card. I love it. Do you love it? I love this kind of cute spooky. Even the inside glows in the dark. Here are some close-up photos of the card I created. And I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a like. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please take a moment and do that now. This video is part of the Trinity Stamps Autumn Impressions Release Hop. Check out that description box below for how to enter to win 2 $25 gift cards to the Trinity Stamps store. And don't miss the next video in this hop. Again, in the description box below. Until next time, bye-bye.